This video is not gonna be easy, but it needs to be said. Hi everybody, my name is Lacie. Welcome to my channel. As most of you have probably heard, there's been this thing with this person named Logan Paul. Disclaimer, I am not here to bash on Logan Paul. I don't care, because that's a whole can of worms we're not even gonna open. What I am here to do is make this video to present a viewpoint on the matter of suicide and suicidal thoughts that I have not seen discussed yet, and I feel like it is very important and a very serious topic that needs to be addressed. If you're anything like me, then you probably might spend a few days away from social media at a time because you just don't keep up with it, or you don't have the time to keep up with it, and that's great, good for you. But when that happens, sometimes you tend to get thrown into the middle of things that you weren't necessarily prepared for, and one of those things happened to me just yesterday, actually, beginning of the year, first day of the new year. I jump on Twitter to tell some people Happy New Year, and I see some of my favorite YouTubers commenting and tweeting about how suicide is not a joke, suicide is not something to be made fun of, it's very serious, and there's several of them in a row doing this, and they're mentioning this person named Logan Paul. So my first thought was, oh goodness, did someone commit suicide? But I didn't want to assume anything, so I looked up the video, I looked up what was going on. Apparently, there is a YouTuber who is a Disney actor named Logan Paul, and he went with some friends to a place in Japan called the Suicide Forest. And it is a very popular destination for people to go and end their lives, hence Suicide Forest. I didn't know who Logan Paul was before this. I didn't know anything about Logan Paul, but I did watch the video, and apparently what happened was he went into Suicide Forest with his friends because it has rumors that it is haunted by the spirits of the deceased that have killed themselves there, and so they were going to go camp out for the night and see if they could catch some ghost stuff, you know. They got a little bit more than they bargained for, and they actually found the recently deceased body of a man who unfortunately took his own life that day. And the issue that people were having was not that, you know, they found that was not anything to do with Logan Paul, more as they had an issue with the fact that he goes and gets close-up footage of the man's body and starts pointing things out, like the fact that, you know, his hands were purple. It's really bad. It's definitely disturbing to watch that. But as I said, I'm not here to talk about Logan Paul. I'm here to talk about suicide. He did take the video down. He issued an apology on Twitter, and there's mixed reactions about all of that. Whatever. Logan Paul done. In the video, he did mention about how suicide is bad and how, you know, you're not alone. But he sort of mentioned it in a sarcastic, like, blown over way. I watched lots of different reactions to the video. I watched lots of different commentaries on the video, saw lots of different comments. And again, the one viewpoint I didn't see was about suicide itself. Like, everyone was focusing on Logan Paul and how much they wanted to bash on Logan Paul, and not like the real issue of suicide, and that's what I wanted to do. I decided that the best way to do that would be to explain my own story and tell you guys why this is such a big deal to me and why it's so important to really get this out there and have people understand how serious of a topic like this actually is. Instead of responding to the Logan Paul video itself, I was going to respond to suicide and suicidal thoughts. And a lot of people have done this in the past, but not as many people have done it from a personal standpoint. And what I mean by that is that I myself have dealt with suicidal thoughts and wanting to kill myself in the past. And I was reading the comments on his Twitter apology and all the other things, and I saw people talking about how, oh, it's not really a big deal, you know, the family doesn't care, blah, 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 blah. Like, I understand that being in Western culture, being in America, we're very desensitized to death and violence and gore and other things like that. Like, we see it in movies and TVs all the time. We just get bombarded with all of these things. And a lot of times it will desensitize us to those things and how serious they actually are. And even with shows like 13 Reasons Why, now we've started to desensitize ourselves to suicide and the struggle that people have with that. And we think, oh, it's not a big deal. It is a big deal. It's a huge deal. It is very serious. And I know that can be really difficult for people who maybe haven't walked through it themselves to understand it, which is another reason why I wanted to make this video. I wanted to show you guys the inside story of what goes on up here when someone is in that mindset, when someone is really thinking about that, just to give you guys kind of a personal viewpoint on it and show you what actually goes on. I would never ever wish this kind of pain on anyone. I would never want anyone to have to go through this struggle. I speak out against it because I know people go through this, and I want them to understand that that's not the end, that that's never the end of the story. I wanted to really bring attention to that and tell you guys my own story and be a little bit personal, a little bit vulnerable with you guys, and that it's not something that you can just wish away or like talk away. A lot of the time it's very deep rooted struggles. You know, people in that state really need the support of people like their friends and their family to be there for them and understand what they're really going through. Because I know, again, from personal experience, it's so difficult to speak out about it because you're so afraid that they're not going to understand, and sometimes they don't. Which is why it's so important to find people that you know, that you trust, that do understand, that do get it. When I was a little girl, I was very sociable. I loved everybody. I would literally walk up to people and just go, "Hi, I'm Lacie. Do you want to be my friend?" And like, from that day forward, we were best friends. When I entered second grade, there was a shift that I found myself in, where I started to get bullied very severely. Everything from my weight to my face to my family to my voice to my singing to my name, like literally anything they could think of. To have it start at such a young age, like, it was very difficult to work through that. I was jumped a lot. I was outcasted and ostracized, and it was a very confusing thing to deal with because I couldn't understand why. I couldn't grasp what I had done to like deserve that kind of hatred and that kind of like negativity and just outright attack of everything about me and my character. As the years progressed and each year the bullying just got worse and worse, like it affected my grades, it affected my attitude. I became very angry. I became very internalized, and I took everything and put it on myself, and I tried to understand, and the only explanation that I could come up with that made sense to me was that obviously there was something wrong with me. I deserved it. I deserved this pain. I deserved this hatred because I was not good enough as me. At the time I was growing up in church, you know, so I would hear a lot about how Jesus loved everybody, and you know, how Jesus was, you know, the creator of everything, and he does not make mistakes. He doesn't make, you know, bad things. And for a long time, I rejected that. I couldn't believe it. You know, I couldn't understand why, you know, a good God would let all these things happen to me unless I deserved it, unless, you know, I really was a mistake and he was punishing me for being awful. I had this plan that, you know, maybe if I tore myself down, maybe if I spoke badly about myself, you know, in my own mind, in my heart, and in front of others, maybe it wouldn't hurt so much when they attacked me. And of course, that's blatant lie. It didn't work. It actually made it worse. In a way, it felt like they were actually confirming and strengthening my idea that I was a worthless human being. A few years later, this has been going on since 2nd grade. I'm in 4th grade now. I decided that the only way that I could stop what was happening was to fix myself. You know, my plan to fix myself was to beat my head on anything hard that I had around me. It could have been a desk or the bathroom wall or a book. So my only plan to combat this problem with me was to try and beat my brain into submission to make it be better. And of course that didn't work, and I spent years doing this and trying over and over again to fix myself. And at this time, I didn't tell my parents I was doing this. I believed wholeheartedly that the problem with me was in my brain. So I needed to fix my brain to fix myself. So I thought that, you know, hitting it would work. It was like that for 4 years. I did that to myself from 4th grade to 8th grade. Anytime I could get by myself, you know, whether it was at home, whether it was at school, just going to the restroom. The truth was that I was in so deep, and I couldn't see any way out anymore. In 8th grade, I decided that I was ready to die. That I had tried living long enough and nothing was getting better, and, you know, there was really no point in living anymore because I was a worthless human being with no value. So why am I just taking up space? Why am I just breathing everyone else's air and ruining everyone's life? It's a scary feeling, but it is a very strong feeling. And when you don't understand how to ask for help, or you're afraid to ask for help, it's not a good place to be. And I tried to justify it in my own heart. And I remember that I would be walking through school, and I would just be in the hallway walking to my next class, and the thought would be in my head, hey, the girls' locker room is right there. You could slip in, hang yourself by your lanyard, and the next time someone comes in for gym class, they'll see you. Like, I remember coming home crying because I was usually the first one home. I was the first one to get off the school bus. For the brief hour that I would be at my house by myself, I would have to lock myself inside of my room to keep myself from going into the kitchen and taking that knife, or going into my dad's closet and grabbing that pistol, because that's all I could think about. At the same time as I was crying because of how much pain I was in, the other half of me was slowly trying to muster the courage to actually go and fulfill these things that I had imagined doing so many times. It was hard, and I don't know what kept me in my room, but I do remember that all those days that I would come home sobbing and just in so much pain, every single one of those days, every single one of those afternoons, as I would sit there and think about that knife in my hand, think about finally being free from all of that pain, there was something inside of me that felt like a whisper, but it was like a string of hope. Just one more day. Tomorrow might be better. Try again. Try again. One more day. One more day. One more day. That's all it said over and over and over again. One more day. And I would be like, I'm tired of trying. You know, I don't want to try anymore. I don't want to wake up tomorrow with hope and then find out that all the hope is pointless and that it's not better, it's worse. You know, I'm tired of getting jumped. I'm tired of being bullied. I'm tired of being told I'm worthless. I know I'm worthless, but this thing was persistent, and it would be like, just go one more day. Try one more day. Tomorrow might be better. There's a brighter day coming. In the end, this persistence inside of me, this hope that I could not let go of, and I didn't know where it came from, that this hope would win out. And I would decide, okay, fine, but if tomorrow's not better, I'm ending it all tomorrow. And the next day I would wake up and I would go to school. Same story as always. I was miserable. I was in pain. I would end up self-harming more, and I would come home and the cycle would repeat over again. I still had this hope inside of me. I wished that the hope would die so I could finally die. Like, I actually wished the hope away, and it wouldn't go away. And I thank God that it wouldn't go away. I remember the summer of my 8th grade year. My parents are like, hey, you're gonna go on the retreat. So I was like, yay, okay. I'm gonna go hang out with these people. That's gonna be fun. But it's a retreat about Jesus. Again, I grew up in church. I grew up around the gospel, around hearing about the love of God. And I didn't accept it because I couldn't accept myself. I couldn't believe that a God that was so beautiful and so loving and so kind and so merciful would care about me because of how worthless and how beat down and how destroyed I was as a human. There were days when I honestly did not consider myself human. I considered myself as lower than everyone else. Like, I was not human. I was an object that, you know, was just here taking up space, wasting everyone's time. So pack up, go on this retreat, and I had mixed feelings. I decided that on that retreat, I was finally done waiting. I was finally done holding on for one more day, and that retreat would finally be the end of Lacie's story. It would be the end of, you know, bothering people. It would be the end of the pain, the end of everything, because I was going to finally end my life. And I was like, there's a bunch of woods around here. It's a bunch of cabins. It's really isolated. I could so easily slip off in free time or in the middle of the night when everyone's asleep, go walk far into the woods, and I will end it. I will finally end it. I'm done waiting. I don't care anymore. I'm done. I remember it like it was yesterday. We get there, and my pastor at the time, our youth pastor, she gets up in the front of the bus after we arrive, you know, like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night, and she says, okay, here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna go to your cabins, you're gonna put your stuff down, change if you want to, grab a snack, and then everyone is going to chapel immediately. I remember being so aggravated. I was mad. I was like, why on earth did we just spend 8 hours in this bus, cramped, to go spend another hour to hour and a half sitting in a sanctuary? I didn't want to go. I was upset. I was tired. You know, I wanted to hurry up and get to where everyone was asleep so that I could leave and go kill myself. From the moment I walked into that chapel, something was different. All I remember is that I was sitting in the back row crying because I felt so alone and so hurt, and I normally was so good at hiding it, and I just couldn't. I couldn't hide the fact that I was broken and I was in pain in so many ways. That night I felt the tangible love of Jesus. I remember being ashamed, and I was like, Lord, I mean, I don't even believe in you. You know, I call myself a Christian, and I'm not. Why are you here? I'm worthless. I'm terrible. I'm ugly, and blah, 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 blah. I just started listing off all of these things that I believed for years, that I had heard for years, or that I spoke over myself for years. And I just remember this whisper inside of me, this persistence in me that I recognized. It was the same little whisper inside of me, that same little glimmer of hope in me that was saying, just hold on one more day, a brighter day is coming, was now saying, I never said that about you. I never told you that. I never claimed that you were ugly or that you were worthless. I never told you that you were worth nothing to me. I remember that I cried more because for the first time I really realized how much Jesus loved me as a person, I guess, and I felt loved for the first time. I felt real, tangible love that didn't care about my quirks or my mistakes or my failures. It didn't care about what anyone said about me. Just, you know, focused on the fact that I was exactly who he created me to be, and he loved every bit of it. Since then, you know, I gave my life back to Christ. I've never had a freedom like the freedom I have in Christ to love myself as I am and to know that he loves me as I am, no matter what anyone has said. And now I've been clean of self-harm for 8 years, and I've been, you know, free from suicidal thoughts for 6 years, and I'm going to be celebrating my 21st birthday in September of this year. And I've come a long way, but it's only through the love of Jesus. I just want to encourage you guys. My point in saying all of this is that you really are never alone. Jesus is right there with you, and I promise you, he sees everything. And there are people that really do understand, because there are people like me and hundreds of others that are going through it or have gone through it and can talk to you about it, who are there for you. As you guys can see, I've left the suicide prevention helpline number at the bottom of the screen for the entire video. These people are there to help you. They're there to talk to you about it. It's full confidentiality. They're available 24 hours a day in all states, all countries. Like, these people are there to talk to you. If you are thinking about suicide, or if you know someone who is thinking about suicide, you need to get help. You need to tell a trusted adult, call this number, talk to somebody. There are so many people that care about you, that you don't even realize care about you. There are people that you have influenced that you don't even realize that you have impacted for the better. And I also want to, you know, give a challenge to people who maybe don't know the struggle that I'm talking about, that you've never gone through it, or that you don't really know anyone who is. I just want to, you know, challenge you. Be encouraging to everyone around you in your thoughts and your actions and in your words, because you never know what someone may be going through. I remember one day I was in line behind this guy, and he was laughing with his friends, and I tapped him on the shoulder, and he turns around, he's like, yeah, and I'm like, I just wanted to let you know that, like, I really like your smile. You have a great smile, and I hope that you get as many chances to smile as possible. And he smiled, of course, and he was like, thank you. I found out later that that he was actually planning to go home and end it all that day. But because I took the time to just point that out and, like, show him that somebody notices that stuff and someone cares, it gave him the strength to hold on a little bit longer. So you never know what someone might be going through in their brain, and you never know what impact you can make on someone with the smallest word or gesture. Be the example of encouragement that you would want people to be to you if you were going through a hard time. Anyway, please share this video to encourage someone. You can share it with the hashtag #YouAreNotAlone. I really hope that this helps somebody. Maybe that hearing my story would encourage you that, like, just hold on one more day, because there's a brighter day coming. And I encourage you to reach out to someone who you trust, who you know loves you. Reach out to your parents, to your best friend, to a teacher at your school, to your school's counselor. Like, talk to somebody if you're feeling this way. Don't give up on hope. Don't give up on life, because you're going to make such a beautiful difference in the world when all of this blows over, and you get to tell your story the way I'm telling mine, and you get to tell other people how you saw your brighter day, and you get to tell other people how they don't have to end things, because that's not the final answer, and it's going to be amazing. I also am including the number to my church, Crossroads Church. If you need to talk to someone, if you want prayer about anything I've mentioned in this video or anything else, you can call this number. They'd be more than happy to talk with you and pray with you. I hope that this helps someone and that this encourages someone to keep going, that, you know, suicide is not the answer. There's always a brighter day, and there's always help.